Hi, this is Dr. Mark Hyman. Welcome to my weekly house call, your chance to ask me your questions. So this week's question is, what about adrenal burnout? How do I get my adrenals back to good health? Well, what are your adrenals? Why do they go wrong? And what can you do about it? Your adrenals are really important because they're how you respond to stress. If you have chronic stress, your adrenals get beat up and it's difficult to manage your life. You feel tired and wired. You get palpitations, you feel anxious, you have trouble sleeping, you might crave salt, you might get dizzy when you stand up, you might have low blood pressure. All of these are clues that you could have adrenal problems. You might even have sugar cravings because your blood sugar can't be regulated. So why do we get this? We get it from the chronic, unremitting, ongoing stresses of everyday life. Stresses of our families, stresses of relationships, stresses of work, the stresses of constant interaction with Facebook and Twitter and the online world and all these inputs that never let us pause. Now, how many of you know where your pause button is? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't find it yet and you don't know where to go to turn it on or how to turn it on. It's really important to understand how this whole stress response works and why it goes wrong and why over time your adrenal glands, which are these little glands that sit on the top of your kidneys, are not able to compensate for the chronic stress that you have in your life. So how do you know if you have adrenal burnout or if you're on the way to adrenal burnout? Very simple. You ask yourself a set of questions which are in my adrenal stress quiz that's on my website and that you can link to here. You want to ask the questions that I mentioned. Are you feeling tired and wired? Are you irritable? Do you have trouble sleeping? Are you having trouble with low blood pressure, low blood sugar? Are you craving sweets? Are you craving salt? Are you just feeling kind of overwhelmed, which is pretty common? If you have any of these symptoms, you just might have adrenal burnout. Now, there are tests for it that you can do, which we do in our office at the Ultra Wellness Center. We do saliva testing to measure your cortisol throughout the day. And when you have adrenal burnout, your cortisol starts to go down, and you can't respond normally to the stresses of life. And you end up with just feeling tired and crummy most of the time. And we push ourselves with coffee, we push ourselves with stimulants, and we push ourselves to feel better using things that don't really work. So what does work? How do you solve this problem? It's quite simple. You find your pause button. That's the first thing to do. And I have lots of them. I found lots of them. So I have all sorts of different pause buttons I like to push. I do it through yoga. That's one of my favorite pause buttons. I do it through a hot bath at night. I call the Ultra Bath, where you take 2 cups of Epsom salt, half a cup of baking soda, 10 drops of lavender oil, and you soak for 20 minutes, and you end up with a really decreased stress response. In fact, they put lavender oil in baby bath because it lowers cortisol and helps to balance their whole hormonal system. Also do other things. Massage is great, meditation, deep breathing, and there's all sorts of tools and resources available for you everywhere, online, on my website, that you can link to and actually be guided through the experience of how to do this. In fact, one of my friends, Susan Piver, has something called the Open Heart Project, where you can join her online in a weekly guided meditation. Very simple things have profound effects. Exercise, also really important. Gentle, regular exercise. A morning walk, a light jog, a little bike ride, something in the fresh air where you have natural light that affects your pineal gland, helps reset your brain and reset the stress response. I also recommend regular rhythm. Rhythm is key because your hormones are balanced in rhythm. So waking at the same time every day, going to bed at the same time every day, eating at the same time every day. These are rhythms in life that help to reset your natural balance. If you're all over the place, your adrenals are going to burn out. And then, of course, there's some really simple things you can do in the point of view of supplements. And we use herbs. A lot of really wonderful herbs are used. We call adaptogens to help you adapt to stress. Things like ginseng, Siberian ginseng, things like rhodiola. These are wonderful herbs that you can use to help balance your adrenal and stress response. Vitamin C, zinc, B vitamins, B5, all these things help to balance your adrenals. And they can be taken just as a basic daily series of supplements that help you balance your stress response. So if you have any of these symptoms, if you're worried about your adrenal stress response, if you're thinking that you might have adrenal burnout, I encourage you to take some time, find things you like to do, try your pause buttons, try a few of these supplements, and reset your life. So now I'd like to hear from you. Have you ever experienced adrenal burnout? What's worked? What hasn't? How have you overcome it? Or maybe you haven't. Please share your experience with us at drhyman.com. And if you like this house call, sign up at our website to receive them every week. Share them with your friends on Facebook and Twitter, and please submit your questions so that next week I may make a house call to you. Thanks for joining me today.